Today I want to talk about getting started with flight plans. To create a flight plan, just go into World Map and let's pick somewhere that has a lot of places to see. Probably Washington, D.C. would be a good choice. Take off from Ronald Reagan and we'll land over here at Joint Base Andrews. And that's a legit flight plan. The only thing you really need for a flight plan is a departure and an arrival, which we've got, and then we can select our aircraft, which the NX Cub's fine for our purposes. And then if you want to select your flight conditions, you can do live weather or not. And that's all you need for a flight plan. So if you come down here to the more or hit your space bar, and then one more time, load save or hit your space bar, you can save this flight plan to your PC. I'll just use my downloads folder. And now I have a legit flight plan. Now, what if I want to pick some particular sites? Maybe I want to see the Supreme Court. Don't know why I would want to do that, but I want to make sure I find the Supreme Court on my flight. Well, we're going to use simflightplan. Flightplan's going to go ahead and open up, and it's going to detect we're already in Flight Simulator, so it's going to go ahead and just load a map. This isn't a flight plan. This is just a Google map. It just loaded us where our aircraft was, which since we're in World Map or in the hangar, it's the same way. You're just at 0, 0 latitude, prime meridian on the equator. So that's where we're shown. Let's open that flight plan we just created. Flight Simulator gives you climb, cruise, descent, and approach, which we don't need for our little NX Cub, certainly. And then we said we wanted to see the Supreme Court for whatever reason. Here, let's check out the Jefferson Memorial too. If I click on the map, it's going to ask me for a name for my point, and I can set an altitude. Let's set ours to 1,000 for grins, since we're sightseeing. And then we got to find the Supreme Court, which I think is next to the Library of Congress. Right there, Supreme Court of the United States. Drop a pin there. And then it keeps our altitude. So when you set your altitude in a waypoint, simflightplan keeps it moving forward. Also, let me point out, I'm naming my waypoints USR. You can name them anything you want, but the Garmin cockpits are going to rename them to USR no matter what you do. And I'll show you that in a minute. Let's look at the Lincoln Memorial on the way out. I don't think we need this long name in case we decide to share it. Go ahead and just save over the top of what we've got. And now I've got a little flight plan that takes me to Jefferson Memorial, the Supreme Court, the Lincoln Memorial, and then just down to Joint Base Andrews to land. Now I can reload that flight plan here in World Map, and let's go ahead and load it. And we've spawned in the aircraft. If we turn on GPS follow, we'll locate that we're at Ronald Reagan National Airport. And you can see we're out of fuel because we were running a second ago and now we've stalled. That would probably indicate that we have no fuel, which we don't. You could call a fuel truck. I'm gonna go ahead and just give myself some fuel. Now the PFD is already set up the way I like it, but if you're going to want to set aircraft settings in particular, like the fuel tanks that I just filled, let me go ahead and fire the Cub back up. But maybe I want to go ahead and set my mixture. We're at sea level, so it's going to have to be pretty rich, or we're pretty close to sea level anyway. Probably somewhere in that neighborhood will be fine once it warms up. You know, maybe I want my landing lights on and I want, I don't know, inset window. I want a map. So now this will save with my flight plan if I save it from within the cockpit. The moral of the story is if you want to set up your aircraft exactly how you want it, and also I'm not going to taxi around. I don't know where exactly it spawned us. Obviously you can select a parking spot if you want. It spawned us in the middle of the runway sideways. So I would probably taxi down to one end of the runway or the other and set myself up. Now we can also do that in Flightplan, but there's several videos that show you how to adjust your spawning position using simflightplan. My point is the flight plan that we just loaded left me out of fuel and didn't have my map, and our mixture was at 100%. Now I've adjusted those settings. If I just hit escape, And again, spacebar or load save. Save to this PC. So now if we reopen our flight plan, notice what happens. I think this is actually a bug because it takes away the waypoint number and it moves them into the description. So if you're going to save your aircraft settings like I just showed, you probably want to go ahead and do that first before you start adding all your sightseeing waypoints to the map. But you'll see we still have our flight path. And now if we look at our fuel tanks, our tanks are full, so when we spawn back in the aircraft, it'll remain started because it was already started. We've set our glass cockpit the way we like it, plus we've adjusted our mixture. And again, I would usually put myself down at the end of the runway somewhere and adjust my heading so that I'm facing down the runway. So that's getting started with flight plans. There's two ways to create your flight plan in Microsoft Flight Simulator. One way is to go into World Map, create your flight plan, and then save at the bottom here. Or actually create a flight plan or open an existing one, spawn in the aircraft, and then save from within the aircraft. The main difference being that you can't save any of your aircraft settings until you spawn in the aircraft. And then once you've done that, you can open it up in SimFlightPlan and make whatever modifications you want to make, add, remove, move, waypoints. That's getting started with flight plans. Go to simflightplan.com to download SimFlightPlan. Try it today. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.